Hi, welcome back. In this course we will look at string, StringBuffer and StringBuilder. So let's look at the topics we will be covering. I'll be discussing about string, StringBuffer and StringBuilder. I will also explain you about what's the difference between string and StringBuffer. And there is a very popular interview question, which is why do you need string when StringBuffer is there, or what's the difference between string and StringBuffer? I'll explain you that as well. And I'll also explain you about a tip on string and StringBuffer. This is asked 90% of the time, but 90% of the people who go for interview fail to answer this correctly. So if you know, you're in the top 10%. So focus on this course. As always, I'll try to keep it very short. So what is a string? String is a string of character, or it can be one character, it can be 5 characters, it can be one sentence, it can be a paragraph. So it's nothing but a string of characters. You would have studied a string is immutable, which means once created, you can't change its reference. I'll explain more on this, in fact through coding, but remember it, once you create a string, you can't change its reference. Reference is very important. You can change the string, I'll tell you how, but you can't change its memory reference. Lot of people who come to interview, in fact 99 out of 100 who come to an interview, they always say string is immutable, you can't change it. But I'll show them the coding which will change it, but 99 out of 100 people will fail to answer what it actually means immutable. I'll explain you in a minute. So what is StringBuffer? Very similar to string, but can be changed, which means the memory can be changed. Remember, string can also be changed coding wise. So if I have Jerome in a string, I can change it to hello Jerome in the same string and print it. Only the memory reference I can't change. StringBuffer, I can change this memory reference, the value at the same memory reference. StringBuffer is thread safe. I'll explain what it means, what thread safe means in a later chapter, but remember it's just thread safe, and the main methods are append and insert. What is StringBuilder? StringBuilder is kind of recent. I've learned it because I'm an old timer, but most of you are already up to speed with JDK5, so you may know StringBuilder already. It's exactly like same as StringBuffer, but it is not thread safe. So if you want better performance and not worried about thread safety, then use StringBuilder. So let's write some very basic programs. Let's print campus interview using string, StringBuffer and StringBuilder. Then let's join I will ace campus interview. I will ace with campus interview using again string, StringBuffer and StringBuilder. So let's look at our NetBeans project. And adding words. So I've already written adding words. So if you see, it's fairly straightforward. If you want to add 2 words, first let's look at a very simple one, which is just printing the string. So all you have to do is say string is equal to campus interview system out println, and then just print the string. And then if you see, there's no difference whatsoever between this or this line and calling with a new. Both will create a new string in a new memory location. I've already explained. Think a memory location just like a blackboard. If you write in one place and call that place as with some number, that is your memory location. So both, imagine writing campus interview in a blackboard, it exactly the same. There's no difference between these two. StringBuffer, you can't call it out like this. You always have to create a new, and then StringBuilder is the same. So it's fairly straightforward. If you see, one big difference is for StringBuffer and StringBuilder, you always have to use new, which means you're creating an object. But with string, you don't have to put a new in front of it, which means it's already there. It's a literal, its memory location is already there. So you're just taking that memory location. Let's not go deep into that. Just for now, remember, string you can create even without a new keyword. And then let's look at adding words. So I've got IASmy as one string and campus interview as second string. I can add these two, S1 plus S2, put it into same S1, and then added string value is S1. If you run this, it will print IASmy campus interview. In fact, I'll run it and show you. Same with StringBuffer, but I use something called append. String doesn't have something called append. I'll tell you why. And StringBuilder again is exactly like StringBuffer. StringBuilder is you use append to add it. So if I run it, you can run using Shift F6 or just run it. I prefer always using the keyboard. It's easy, it's faster, it's cool. So when I run it, it's taking a bit more time. See, IASmy campus interview. Added string value is StringBuffer and StringBuilder. All are printing the same. One big difference you have to notice, string doesn't have any append. That in turn tells you that I can't take the same memory reference and append it, keep on appending values to it. Every time I do, I need to put in a new memory reference. So that's what it does. It creates S1 plus S2. Though I've used the same variable name S1, when it actually creates a new memory reference. So if imagine again the blackboard, you write IASmy in one place, campus interview in another place. Then if you want to have IASmy campus interview, you have to write it in the third place. You can't rub IASmy and campus interview and write on top of it. It doesn't work that way. You have to write it in the third place for string. That's how string works. So always remember the blackboard. When it's string, remember the blackboard where you can't rub things. So it's a blackboard where you can write only once. That's how string works. So how do I prove this? How do I prove it always produces a new memory reference? There's a way to do that. So if I look at, I've written another small code, string versus StringBuffer. I've introduced a small additional method called hash code. Remember this method. It will be very handy when you're coding in bit more advanced Java. Remember, this hash code can be called on any object. Just remember that. I'll explain you why. Any object. Any object you remember, if you want to print this memory reference, it's not a memory reference, it's a unique code. It's not actually a memory reference. It's a unique code for any object. So if you create an object, print its hash code, and create another object, print its hash code, both its hash code value will be different. But it's not a memory reference as such. It's a unique code given for an object. So if you see, all I've done is exactly taken the same adding words, taken IASmy interview, again campus interview, and printed the hash code. I added these two, printed S1, and then I've just missed hash code. Added string value is S1. Hash code, let's print hash code here. So I've taken S1 first, printed its hash code, added S1 plus S2 into S1 and printed its hash code. So as I've explained, these two have different hash code because this S1 here is a new object compared to this. And then I've done the same. I've appended SB1 to SB2 and put it into SB1. And let's print its hash code again. And then did the same for SB StringBuilder. Oh, okay. So let's look at just the string buffer and string. So all I've done is, again going back to it, I've added two string, put it into the same string, printed its hash code before and after. Same with string buffer. So let's run it and see what it does. So if you look at it, before I added string 1, my hash code is different. After I added, my hash code is different. Same with string buffer. Before I added, my hash code is this, and after I added, for string buffer, my hash code is this. There's absolutely no difference for string buffer. That proves I'm using the exact same object for string buffer to manipulate it or to change it. For string, though I've used exact same variable, it always creates a new object. So remember, string always creates a new object. The reference is not same. That's what they mean by immutable. So once you create it, once you put it on your blackboard, you can't change it. You can't mutate it. It's immutable. If you want to put another string, it creates another memory reference. For string buffer, you can change it, change the same memory location. That's the difference between string and string buffer. So that's the bit of code. Straightforward, string and string buffer. Though it looks straightforward, you will use string all over the place. So get very familiar with string, look at all its method, and to look at any object's method, all you have to do is just put the object name and put dot onto it. You'll get all the methods. You try and go and read about all these methods. It's very useful. Some of the methods I'll teach you more on these, like for an example equals, we'll learn more on this. So as we go along, I'll teach some of these methods, but it's important you remember some of these methods. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. So now you know how to add two strings, all that. So let's look at the blackboard version. So with string and string buffer, as I've explained you, with string C1 I got campus interview. You add something to it, it'll put it in the same place, different place. I will ace campus interview. But string buffer, it uses the same memory reference. So remember that. So let's go back to the interview questions now. So that's all we have with string buffer and StringBuilder. As I promised you, I try to keep it very short so I don't bore you. You also grab the concept. So let's look at some of the interview questions. What's the difference between string and string buffer? So as I've said, please don't just stop at saying string is mutable and string buffer is immutable. In fact, I've put it wrong. Should say, please don't stop saying string is immutable and string buffer is mutable. The reason why I want to insisting on this point is most would say the same. 99 out of 100 I've interviewed, when I ask the difference between string and string buffer, they say string is immutable and string buffer is mutable. And when I ask more, 99 out of 100 would fail to explain why. Now you know the reason why. When they say string is immutable, means you can't change its reference. You create one string, next string you create, whether the same variable or not, it always puts the new memory reference. Remember a blackboard where every time you want to write on it, you can't rub the previous one. String buffer, in other words, again similar to string, you can change the values within it, but with string buffer you can same memory reference, you can in the memory location you can change it. Same goes with StringBuilder. So what is StringBuilder? StringBuilder is exactly like string buffer, but it is not thread safe. It is not thread safe. When should you use string and when should you use string buffer? This is a very good question. A lot of people fail to answer. See, basically you use string if you are not doing a lot of operation. It's quite good in that way, because every time new object is created, old object is left, and Java garbage collection will pick it up. And if you are not changing too much of the string values, then use string. And also, if you want to become if you are not changing too much of string, use the value, the word or anything, use string. With string buffer, if you keep on changing values within a word, for an example, you keep adding one character to the next character to the next character to the next character in a loop, then use string buffer. It will give you a slightly better performance. But generally I tend to use string a lot, because with the modern compilers, it actually, even if you use string buffer, it looks at it and change it to string. Or if you use string and if you are doing a lot of manipulation, it's changes to string buffer. So at this point you don't have to worry, but you need to know for the interview purpose. So if you're making quite a lot of changes, use string buffer. But if you just want to define an object and use it somewhere, or maybe make slight modification, use string. So what's the difference between string buffer and string builder? They both are exactly same. You know the answer for this. String buffer is thread safe and string builder is not. Okay, let's look at some bit more advanced. So question many Java junior developers fail to answer. So among string buffer and string builder, which one you will use and when? My answer should be, it depends on the requirement. If I have to manipulate quite a lot with a string, for an example, I have to add a plus b plus c plus d plus up to z, or up to even several other characters within a loop, then I would go for string buffer. Again, I will apply the same logic. I will go for string builder if it doesn't have to be a thread safe. And I will use string pretty much everywhere else, other than where I don't want to manipulate much. So wherever I don't want to use string buffer and string builder, I would use string, where there is not much manipulation is required. So this is 5 years, even 5 years experience can't answer. This is kind of lingering from our previous course. I put it here because I don't want people to skip our previous course, because primitive is very important. I thought I'll slot this in so they will go and refer back. But if you have gone through our previous course, you will know the answer for this. So if you haven't, go back to our previous course and look at it. Alright, that's all. Thanks for watching. I'll catch up with you next week in a new course. Have a nice week.